What a beautiful day. Welcome back to Journey of a Confused Artist. Thought it'd be a bit different and go out and about. Find out a little bit more about the art world. I was actually going to go to an art gallery and interview the actual owner or the manager of the art gallery, but I wanted his opinion on this actual episode. And what is this episode about? It is about how do artists price their artwork. It's a question that many artists ask themselves, isn't it? How do you actually price your art? What should it sell for? A lot of controversy actually goes through certain things like, do I price by the size? X amount per square inch? Do I price it on how long it's taken me? Obviously factored into that is going to be the materials. And then you have to think about, well, how's the market? How's that going to, take my pricing? So a lot of the pricing of your own art is really down to yourself initially, but also research about the market, what's trending, what sells. There are a lot of factors that are involved in being able to price your artwork at a certain level in comparison to other artists that maybe are starting. You also have to take into effect why you actually doing the art. Now, when you start saying, how do I price my art? That indicates that you are creating for the money, and that's understandable. Other artists would be doing it for a number of different reasons. Their motivation would be completely different. Their motivation might be just self-expression, mental health, how it benefits them. Some artists would be doing it as a gift, a present to a loved one, favorite pet, whatever it might be, family member, as a portrait. And so they're doing it for a different reason. But when you start going into the realms of saying to yourself, how do I price my art? Then your focus is obviously on making money. And those factors will be dependent on many, many things. As I go through it, I'll go into it in a lot more detail. But what you're going to have to think about is galleries, auction houses, the market itself out there. All of these influence how you will price your art, in the effect of the end result being that you sell your art. There's no point pricing it wherever you want and people don't buy. But yeah, again, the time and effort that you put into it, if you undersell yourself, then everything subsequently thereafter, you're not going to really earn it. So as a business model, that's what you got to think about. If you are talking to yourself about how do I price my art, then you have to think of it as a business. And then there's a whole load more of things and factors that you'll have to take into consideration. Obviously the market area, how to get your message out there. Ultimately, from my research, it's building a brand. You need to build a brand. So that bird just behind me. This is it. That's great. Yes. Because even galleries these days, it's all about you, your persona. How many have you sold before? What's your brand? What's your message? That's one way of looking at it. People like Damien Hirst and Tracy Emin and the such forth, they come down into the category, like I've reported before, as businessmen, artists that create their brand, and it's the brand that commands future art price. To get that brand, to get that recognition for art galleries, to want to invest the time, the effort, the money in promoting you, looking after you, because that's what a gallery's job is meant to be. A gallery's job is to nurture and look after the artists. And for them to do that, they need a return. And they will take a lot of the sales of your artwork. More often than not these days, I think it's coming up to 60% sometimes. But that's for a gallery, and that's a different avenue of being able to sell your art. But we get back to the bit about how do I price my art. Another major factor is not just by the galleries themselves creating that brand, but also looking in terms of, do you price yourself by the size, the time it's taking, the materials? A little tip I would say for myself when selling is investigate, research. You know what I'm like, I love my research. And research basically similar artwork to what you're producing. Go through Google, go through Saatchi, go through Artfinder, all the different platforms, put in the size, the materials that you're using, the subject matter that you're using, and find out which ones are selling and how much they're selling for, and that will give you a bit of a barometer as to yourself. Now also take into effect that these artists that have sold maybe have a bigger brand presence than you. You might be just starting out and therefore no one really knows you. And so it's building that brand that's very important. And so by getting that information about how other artists are pricing their artwork, what is actually selling in the market, you'll start to get a bigger picture. And that will reflect on the galleries. Now the galleries will only take artists that have got a big, strong brand and that they know has got a following and a probability that the art that they exhibit and promote and invest their time in promoting is going to sell. And then as soon as it sells, they jump back on to the artist and go, produce more, produce more, produce more. And that's how it kind of works. And it's building that relationship up with the art galleries. The art galleries have to have some kind of reputation that you are building. And that takes time. So how do you get that brand of yours that you create, that artwork that you've created out into the market for people to engage in? And that obviously is through exhibitions, websites, social media, all that kind of thing, just to start to build a following. More often than not, entering competitions is a good way of getting exposure. And I think that's really what it is. The brand is getting exposure, but also getting a message out there, the type of artist you are, the type of message you're trying to get out there, and all of that is going to be very, very important to the galleries and the auction houses later on. All of it takes time. It does not happen overnight. You also have to look at the value. What is the value? To you, you've spent so much time and effort into this artwork, and the time it might have created, the size, the effort that you went into it, and to you, it's worth a lot of money. But to a viewer, maybe not. To you, an art piece that you might have just thrown together in a spate of creativity, it didn't take you any time, means nothing. But to a viewer, they might look at it and go, wow, that resonates. That gives me a feeling. Therefore it means more to them. So it's perception, isn't it? Beauty in the eye of the beholder. All that kind of statements that they say. So that adds another factor into how do you price your artwork. You have to take sometimes away the personal influence and factor of what you because only you know what you've gone through. The viewer will see it completely different, and that gets down to time. So for instance, if you've created some artist, their style might be so accurate. One of my ex-girlfriends was an illustrator. We'd always have arguments with each other. The making up was the best bit, but one of the things, she would do a square inch per day of a large painting, so intricate that she'd do a water droplet and even paint the reflection in the water droplet. And I used to take a photo. It's just me, I was getting my brass and take it half the time. We weren't selling our artwork, but at the end of the day, if we both had to sit there and say how much we priced our artwork or would want to sell it for, maybe there'd be two different prices. To her, the time, the effort, the intricacies that she's gone through would be, I want a lot of money and it should be worth that amount because it's taken me that amount of time and it's been that accurate. Me, who might have sort of say, well, mine should be more than yours or equal, and yet it took me an hour, 2 hours. Maybe my painting was bigger than yours. If it was the same size. All these factors come into the effect of how do you price your art. One thing that's very important is if you do get represented by an art gallery, do not undercut them. If someone goes into an art gallery, sees your exhibited artwork there, writes down your name, then contacts you independently and says, oh, can I see some more of your work? Can I buy that? You should let the art gallery know that transaction, and don't undercut the price that the art gallery is doing, because you're meant to have this relationship and you're breaking it, and it's insulting. Why would they keep promoting? At the end of the day, that viewer went into that gallery because of the promotion of your art, saw your art, looked at the price, thought, I'll go direct, and then you give them it cheaper. Not good business practice. Another thing, don't undersell your artwork. For instance, I've sold art for X amount of money, and I've had people come up, very similar painting or whatever it might be, and say, oh, go on, do us it for a bit cheaper. No, because that is an insult to the investor, the collector that has bought my previous one. No, it's going to be more, because that previous collector wants to feel that his work's increasing. If you start knocking it all down to like cheapest chips, no, that's not the way to do it. And the more that you start selling, the more you incrementally increase it, and looking at the market, that's how it actually works. You know, don't get hung up. Now, I'm just going to finish this a little bit, because there's quite a lot of other things that I want to go through, and I'm going to do that indoors. See you downstairs. Okay, welcome back to the studio. I wanted to conclude this little investigation about how artists price their art. And I think, as I've said before, motivation is really quite important. And if you are doing it for money, and you are thinking about how I price my art, then you have to think of it and treat it as a business. So you will be putting that extra pressure on top of yourself as a creative artist. My advice really would be to not cloud your creativity with monetary gain and recognition in the art and put pressure on yourself for that. In the long game, very, very minimal. Keep to your heart. Keep to what art has really meant to be about, which was expression. And even the great masters in the Renaissance period, the reason that they did their commissions was quite simply to get money to allow them to continue with their creativity. They didn't do their creativity to sell, to make money, to do anything else. So think about your focus. It's really quite important. And as you've seen in the other art programs that I've done, investigating, like a little detective that I am, into the art world and the art market. Now, at this point, I'm talking about kind of crossover between the art market and the art world. The art world really is about techniques and expressions and such forth. The art market is about money. And yet again, so if the subject that you're watching this for, and the answers that you're looking for, really what you make, because there are no rules in the art world. There are no rules, and you will find that out when it comes down to sales and auction houses and the Geneva Freeport, fraud, forgeries, tax evasion. Lots and lots of investigations that I've gone through. You will see all of them. Watch them, please. You, especially the ones that I've got about Picasso and all the famous artists that fight with each other. And there's other videos about little tips and tricks that I created when I was studying at university, and my experience at Cannes film festivals and film type of sequences and blah 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 blah, all that kind of stuff. Become a subscribee. Let's leave that to the end. Hope you enjoyed it, so you got to the end for me to say that. Oh, and also on Amazon as a Kindle and a paperback is the first book, Journey of a Confused Artist, episode 1, The Journey Begins. I am currently writing and putting together this second book, which is going to be, funnily enough, The Price of Art, which will cover what we've just been discussing. So in a way, you've got a kind of like secret little inside info into it. You do want to investigate a little bit more, please put comments below, ask me questions, because don't forget I'm writing the next one. So if you've got any kind of concerns, you want some input that you want to put it into, if it's really good, I will put it into the next book, and I will give you a published, printed credit if it's good. But you can only get that if you give me some of your comments before below. And that might be from anything to do with what I've just said about the price of art, how you price your art, which would be fantastic. And like I said, theft, fraud, forgery, that's all part of the price of art. Become a subscriber. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. The next one is going to be another thing that we always go through as artists, which is fear. When do you stop when you're doing a piece of art? Think about it. See you soon. Love you guys. Mwah.